It's been seconded, so we're there and we're not going backwards. It's
Now,
not.
what it says here, any person, association, firm, corporations, profit or non-profit, desires to use facilities for a particular purpose, such as picnics, parties, or theatrical, shall first obtain a permit or permission from the township board. Now, what do we want to do? Do we just want to take persons out of that and leave associations, firms, and corporations? Or how do we exactly want to change this?
The motion was to remove that,
Remove
and the
what?
motion was second from the ordinance. All right, remove this from the ordinance because, as Mr. Klein explained to people, that is already resolved because Jay will just put up reserve there, and everyone in this township are very nice people, and they will adhere to it.
So the motion is to remove this whole paragraph from the ordinance.
That's right, remove it and let people use their park.
You don't have
And
any permits
that's
that
the
they're
motion
going to
we're
use
voting on.
power or
And Jay pretty much summed that up for us, that is taken care of.
And you seconded it, right?
Yeah.
I do not, she is the only one. She will be back in town only at 10. You're welcome.
Well, I'm definitely in favor of changing this, but I don't know if I'm in favor of removing association, firms, and corporations. I think if they're gonna use it, they are not necessarily citizens of our park.
Well, what's the difference if, say, three work friends from the courthouse decided they were gonna have a picnic lunch together?
Well, that's not.
Are they still be a firm? They work at the same office.
And
No,
where
it
where
wouldn't
is
be a
the,
firm. No,
where are
individuals
corporations
not a
that
firm.
invade the park?
A firm is a firm is association. For example, if the VFW wants to use it, they're an association. If the Chamber
So
of
if I
Commerce
wanted to go
wants-
down there and eat my peanut butter and jelly sandwich with Craig and some other fellow veterans,
Oh,
we're gonna
come
have to rent it?
on.
Well,
That's what you're saying.
Ed,
That's how it comes
please,
across.
Please,
Well, maybe that's how it comes across.
well,
yeah, the only time
Take
there
it
should
out.
be fees or anything should if they use the kitchen or they want electricity,
Okay, it's.
which they would have to
I-
come here.
I would
the
get rid of the whole paragraph.
VFW, their auxiliary, if they all wanted to get together, it's their park.
Yes.
What are you bothering them for? You know,
Okay.
please.
Now
I've
this-
got, I've been sitting here listening, I want to clarify, but I do think it's important that, we are a community that has been we're able to work things out amongst ourselves. I'd like to keep it that way because when you start passing ordinances like this, you just don't know who's gonna get the tickets or why.
Well, the problem is the ordinance that's currently in play is what's restricting it. We're trying to alleviate
Change
that.
it, right,
Yeah.
I think that we
The
would be
motion and the
better.
second was to
I mean, if
remove-
there's a problem, then that can be addressed again.
This ordinance was passed in 11, so it's been here a long time.
And the motion is to
So the-
remove it
so the,
entirely, because people hear Hamlet.
This
Sure.
changes what we're doing, because if we do this, we have to amend the ordinance. We can't do that with a resolution, so the motion is to remove this from the ordinance, and that in effect will be an ordinance.
Right.
So, both of you agree with that, right?
Yes, remove it. That's what we're trying to
Okay,
get done here.
so, as long as you both agree to that, that's fine. Okay, Kaiser,
Yes, remove.
Klein,
Yes.
Wojcik,
Yes,
Comer, yes.
we'll revisit it and take a look at the ordinance without it.
Well, all I was trying to do was bring this to people's attention. I wasn't
Well, I get it.
married to
You were
it.
trying to relax.
Okay, let's
And
go.
we did that, and that's good. We
Well, if the ordinance looks,
had a resolution.
is missing a chunk for whatever reason and anything reference this in any other way, we need to look at the entire ordinance, so let's do that. And see if
Okay, here's the
something
next thing, whatever you want to
needs
do
be
with
in
it.
there. Very good.
All right. You want to pay for these lunches?
What this is, during the last meeting, on the payout journal, there's $40. It was, as a reimbursement that nobody could explain. And it explains that Laura, Brittany, and Ed went to election seminar training, and that's where the $40 came from, was their lunch.
Yeah. And I always pay for my own lunch when I go to something. And it's like, seriously, penny, nickel and diming people. All right, I'll vote on it.
My question here
Would
would
make a
be,
motion.
my question here would be on that, the only board member on here that was a board member is Ed. And the taxpayers, to my knowledge, there was no vote ever taken by the township regarding paying for lunch for anyone at that seminar.
True.
There's,
There was nothing brought up about
this
that.
seminar is mandatory
It
for
doesn't
anybody
matter.
that might work in an election.
It doesn't matter, Ed, because nobody voted on that. That's like you going out and saying, I'm gonna buy drinks for everybody in town today and expect the township to
I
pay for it.
I'd have to,
Exactly.
I would wanna remind you that, Laura Zelke and Ed, right, we did vote on this a couple months ago. When Laura was, hired to do elections, there was a stipulation in there, and I can go back through my minutes and find that for you, about her training.
No mention of lunch. Training, we
Training's one
approved,
thing,
but there was no mention
is
of
not
lunch.
mentioned.
And, you just pop it in here and you want this money refunded.
No.
And so you didn't follow the procedures. You get if you wanted them to also buy your lunch, then you should have mentioned that at that time.
Absolutely.
But, let's move on. It's on
Do
here.
we have a
We'll
motion,
vote.
do we have a motion to approve this or not?
Not to my knowledge.
Hold on.
No one moved to approve that.
Okay, so it's dying?
I don't believe it.
Looks like,
People should buy their own lunch.
looks like Rick is undecided.
I am, and only because if we're gonna ask people to serve the township, I think, paying for a lunch is not that big of a thing.
It is.
Granted, it might have been a procedural, it should have been handled before the fact, but all we're gonna do is drive people away. That's what's gonna happen. We're gonna ask people to spend their own money in service to the township.
That's not true.
It is true. If I had to pay
The
for
issue
myself when I went to
Okay.
Grand Rapids for MTA conference,
is-
knowing what
agree.
I would've had to pay for that,
Nobody's
walked
saying
away
it
from
can't
this.
happen. Nobody's saying it can't happen. But when somebody says, we're paying for you to go to the seminar and for lunch.
There was no
for that
cost to the seminar.
There was no vote on the lunch. There was a vote
I
on
totally
one.
agree with you.
No mention of-
Procedurally, it was
You can't just
done
spend
wrong.
township money, not even if it's $1, without approval of the board.
Is your
Well, the
motion?
board is
Precisely.
sitting here. The board is sitting here. I don't wanna drive good-hearted people away from serving this township because we're gonna be so frivolously cheap that we can't pay for a lunch.
Talk about when you get done. Look at this, you guys are going to a seminar, that's fine, nobody in this township has a problem with you going to a seminar that's
Is that the
required
guy
for
that
the
owns the
work you
motel
do.
in town?
What you spend over and above that on your lodging
He's
and
done
your
all
per
this
diem
before.
is, it has to be approved. Now, lodging, you can stay at the Waldorf Astoria and pay $500 a night for a room, or you can stay at a motel down the street for $80. What got
That's
approved
why
by the
it's here.
township? What got approved, $80
That's
and
why it's
$500?
here, to be approved.
No, that's
No.
not
Yeah,
what
it
this
is.
says. This says that it already happened. I'm not talking about the future.
Ask first.
Where does it say it already happened?
You have to
This
ask
already happened.
first
Well, I
before
already
you
paid
do
it.
things. That's the point.
That's your problem.
But it
I
says
already
That's
paid it, but,
township's issue.
I haven't,
Okay, I
it
agree
hasn't been
with that,
reimbursed.
Nancy. I do agree with that, but I would like to
This-
get
That's why
that
this is here, to
addressed.
be reimbursed or not.
No.
Do you have a motion, Rick?
No.
I agree with
Okay.
Rick,
I
okay,
think
because,
it's kinda sad.
no, I do.
I think
I
it's
do.
frivolous.
You didn't follow
It's not for
procedure.
this, but in the future,
petty to ask
if
people to
people
buy
are
you
gonna
lunch.
go for trainings and stuff, it does not matter. It's okay, I will, because I am a citizen and I am a person that wants to volunteer my time, but there are times that going to McDonald's would be okay, I agree, okay? Having a fair amount would be okay.
Wait,
Let it die, but we'll make sure later on, that there's a procedure for how
That's
this is
right.
supposed to be.
So does that
Right.
mean
Do
I
it
agree with that.
beforehand and
No,
make
it's,
the
it's
people
gonna
aware
die,
of what
because
you're
it was
spending.
already done. But what I would recommend is you come up with a standard operating procedure for when we send somebody to training or they're working on behalf of the township, that all of those things need to be itemized. Do they need lunch? Do they need travel? Do they need lodging? You make a standard format of it, and that way we can have all of this stuff approved before we ever ask somebody to serve this township and spend their own money.
Absolutely.
Well,
You need to-
there, that'll solve the problem.
You need to make that motion so
Exactly.
that we can
That
move.
may
Okay,
already be in
fine.
the now.
Second.
I will make a motion that we come up with a form that has all of the things itemized on it for expense. That way, anybody serving the township will have that form, they can fill it out, and we can put it in front of this board before they have to spend out of their own pocket to serve the township.
Absolutely.
And I second that. And then they have the option to charge you for their lunch or pay for it themselves. Okay, so I seconded that motion.
I'm gonna wait until he writes a motion up, because
Okay.
it was a little complex. So give me a little bit of time. Matter of fact, I'm gonna take a minute.
Chart expenses. That's what he said.
Sorry.
Okay, you feel the same way about the $5?
Yeah, because it was already spent, it was already done, and it wasn't voted on just like the lunch.
Okay, I just want to be sure it was covered.
It'll clean that up. It'll clean it up. And it's a relatively simple motion. You chart.
Where you go?
Thank you, I didn't mean to be rude.
Where you go?
You're fine. All right.
Yeah, there was
All right.
somebody at the courthouse that was actually released because that person had access to the county card, credit card, utilized it for county business, but then also purchased something on that card for personal use. Even though it paid back to the county, it wasn't authorized, and that person was released. So that's what,
That's your cleaning up. That's what cleaning up.
that's just keeping things real straight, and no
Yep.
confusion, all transparent, and nobody has an issue with that.
Okay. When Mr. Wojcik gets back, we can vote on Mr. Klein's motion.
Should this be a roll call or just a vote?
On the safe side, anything that consumes any money, safe side to
Nancy
it.
calls for roll call.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a roll call then.
Yes.
Can we repeat the motion, please? I stepped up for a second.
Create a form for reimbursement, and the reimbursements have to be approved before going to the meeting.
For expenditure.
Before the money is expenditure, before the expenditure. Put it down before the
We
expenditure.
have roll call.
This is what
if
you
you'd like.
anticipate.
Okay, roll call, Kaiser,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes?
Wojcik,
Yes, but I would like you to take a look and see if that doesn't already exist.
It could. We
Well,
did
there
at
is
one
a-
point in time have a
there's
form.
already a form, but I don't know if it covers this particular situation.
Okay.
I'll have to reread it.
Okay. Next, item 5.
Okay. Motion passed. On to item 5. Deputy Clerk Brittany Brown is asking for the SNA accounting and payroll program.
Brittany, you might need to say something, or I don't know, they might want to ask you questions or something. I don't know if they will or not.
I will have questions, because that's age 50 and it works perfectly well for our accountants.
Got me set up here?
I'm just gonna say one thing about this before she speaks, and that is, she currently has a program called Sage. And for over 6 weeks, she's been calling Sage to ask them a question, and they've never returned her call after all of that time. So with this Sage that she has, we have no backup at all. That's the only thing I have to say about that.
When we
before you
paid for
ask your
support,
questions.
and Stephanie never had one problem with them responding to her. Also, this is the software that the Tribune uses because they have even more accounts than we do. And it is a very efficient privacy software. Now, Shelley could probably tell you or help you, but we need to make the companies that we pay all this money for it, they have to support you. So we need to get it straight that when you have questions, they're to answer.
They
Right,
were
and
sold.
they haven't been, because I sat on, just like 2 or 3 weeks before the 4th of July, I sat on the phone after already calling and leaving messages and having support tickets in. I called and I was tying up one of our phone lines for 45 minutes without anybody even picking up the phone to say, you know, let's wait, or can I put you on hold? And I didn't want to tie up the phone line for these guys because, you know, anybody that had questions, so I finally hung up. I even emailed the guy because it seems like almost every year or every 6 months, like our support, like our direct support person
Mhm.
through tech support, like changes. So he had emailed me when we paid the yearly support fees. And he said, this is my number, this is how you get a hold of me directly, this is the best way to do it. I've emailed him, I called his direct line and left a message.
Maybe
I
it
have-
doesn't work there anymore.
Well,
But somebody's gotta be able to answer the email or something. See, that's the thing, is they're changing so much. And then, Berg had said something about, he had heard that Sage was sold to a different company. Had I known that BSNA had the option for accounting software back when it was passed for the water billing, I would have thrown it in there. It's fine, it's just when I have a really complicated question and I don't wanna screw something up in the system, it would be nice to have that support to back me up. I kinda had to wing it and create a cash account all by myself and pray to God I did it right, which I did, but.
okay. Look at, quite frankly, we can't afford to buy any more software and pay the people that we have to pay, okay? And that software worked perfectly fine for that. The water billing software, in fact, worked, all right? But you already spent $17,500 on water billing software. And it's like all the spending here must cease. We do not have this money. And our budget, as the Tribune explained, was error-riddled. And so all of these expenditures required a budget adjustment to make, and how are you gonna do it when our original budget wasn't even correct? And it's depressing. And there is a unified budget law in the state of Michigan that we needed to have a correct budget to start out with. So, we cannot afford any more software at this time, and we do need to carefully assess where we're at financially at this point. We just are sacking 26,000 something in fixing the well water. I mean, the pump, the well stuff at the wellhead over here. And it's like, that's a huge expenditure too. And we really need to reel the spending in. Sage 50 works perfectly fine, and maybe Mr. Wojcik would get to the bottom as to why this company that bought Sage 50 hasn't connected. And that's pricey. That was $1,300 some bucks for
That was $1,700.
$1,700 for this support. So we know, you know, somebody's got to get to the bottom of this and make sure that the company that bought them gives you a support person, and then you'll be fine. Okay? But
I do see the day where BSNA is gonna become a requirement,
mm,
but it's not there just yet.
they cannot require you to buy software.
Now, so we have to pay.
They
it
No
can
one
require it to be bonded, and BSNA is one of the few that is bonded right now.
They cannot.
Sage isn't bonded, it's not.
Plus the
Well,
integration.
no one can
Well,
force the township to
the
buy
other
any
thing is
software.
the integration factor of it. Anything we have on record, it's so much easier to take it to the next level, to the county or to the state, if we're all using the same stuff, and that's why they can require it later on. They're already moving to do it. One of the classes was specifically on this, how every municipality will be required to use bonded software. Sage isn't bonded, it's not there yet.
They can be bonded.
They can be, but they're not.
But that would take not the MTA's decision, the state legislature.
Oh, yeah, they'll do it.
It
You don't know
can't be-
that.
They cannot be bonded if you can't get in touch with them.
Yeah.
Quit paying them, though. You get in touch with them
We
quick.
paid them money, either they
Well,
refund
no,
that money
you
or they
split
do
up
it.
into payments like the water billing, but it's roughly like 32,000 after they transfer everything over from Sage. And it'll be
Oh my
split up just
Lord.
like, but the only thing is the way that they explained to me also is it would be easier and it would be a lot easier for the treasurer, the water billing and stuff like that. Like it will all correlate in together. So like when I enter a payment into my system, like say a water billing, it will also show up on the treasurer's end, like when, you know, so like when Mary Jo or Mary's not here to put in water bills, it doesn't have to wait until one of them are here. I can put it in my system and it will show up on their end. And it will put all the softwares in each category to be able to work together a lot better.
Tell them about the
Once-
safeguard.
once
Issue
you-
is
and
no
another,
money.
another thing with BSNA is once you input a transaction and you hit save or enter, you cannot change that without calling their support. So you have to, not saying that this is not reflecting on my actions by no means, because I take the time to make sure that I input stuff correctly. But Sage, or with Sage, you can go back in and you can switch things around. Like say, for example, if I messed up or somebody in the future messed up a check number, and the check number that printed out was not the correct check number that was in the system, you can go in and change that check number to the right one.
Anybody could go in and change it?
Anybody that has the password to get into the Sage software, so whether it was somebody in the past, somebody in the future, somebody present, can go in and change transactions. With BSNA, you cannot do it. You have to call, and BSNA internally has to go in and fix the problem that you possibly created. So it's a good safeguard for the future too, about anybody that comes in that has their hands in your guys' money. So it's just, I don't know, I think for the security of the township, it would be, and as a taxpayer in the township, I think it'd be a good expenditure for us to pay if we can, you know, move the money around to find where the money can be pulled from to do so.
It makes
Well,
it,
they can't pour water.
basically,
I wish it did come before the water, to be honest, but like I said, I did not know that BSNA even had the accounting software. Also, the guys' splits that I have to figure out how to do each quarter with James's notes in the computer, our CPA, it would automatically do that in the software with BSNA, with their payroll. It would automatically split up everything, so we wouldn't have to worry about quarterly figuring out, you know, they wouldn't have to really do their time studies anymore for the fact of knowing how many hours that they worked each quarter in the park and the cemetery, and then that money having to be split, and then I have to give it to Mary, and Mary has to go to the credit union and have, you know, such and such amount reimbursed from the park fund to the general fund and stuff like that. You know, I mean, it's not a super difficult thing, but on top of everything else that is paid and has, you know, it would just be a bit of a better convenience also that way to make sure that everything's done,
tell
you
them
know,
it makes
correctly.
embezzlement, tell them it makes embezzlement almost
Yeah,
impossible.
that, I already
She already said
said
You
that.
already said that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Okay, I move we buy this.
I think it should wait a year.
And
It-
also, it wouldn't even be able to, if the board approves it, it wouldn't even be able to start until December. So it'd be basically starting out the new year with the
Right.
software. So the first payment in that wouldn't even have to be made until they start the installation process in December.
When is this going to be?
The amount of money that we've
There's
spent
nothing
so
that
far.
says when, it's just I see it the way they were talking about it,
So what's the actual cost?
$32,000.
We do not have that money. We just do not. And the reason that we got the treasurer's software, which is about $5,400, is she needs to be in sync with the county, and they have it. But the board determined at that time, no problem with any other software in this office. And to pile this on to all this spending at
Well,
this
the county
time,
has since
we
went to
have to make
BSNA.
payroll records. And how are we gonna do it?
Oh, I agree with you, I don't wanna
Can't
spend the
afford
money
it.
right now either. I'm
Can't
just saying
afford
the county has went to BSNA, a lot of your municipalities are going to BSNA. I'm
Everybody
not
knows
saying
it.
we should do it right now, I don't support spending the money right now either. I would like to see it maybe next year.
And how do we know it won't cost more?
Yeah, prices-
Well, that's the thing,
Yeah,
that's what
they-
I'm afraid of, and that was one of my things about the water billing. You know, if something that isn't mandatory, it's one price, once it becomes mandatory, sky's the limit, they can make that price whatever they want. Hopefully, next year, it's still not done yet with the state to make that mandatory. I would let this die right now and revisit it once we can get another budget through.
Well, just let me say something about that. I understand your position very well. But the business about we don't have any money is silly.
Well, I know that, but
It's
Because
not
we
silly.
have, because we have,
I can agree with you on that, but we've spent a lot of money.
well, we have,
Right
but we
now.
also have $200,000 in reserve, so anybody that
Not
says
anymore.
we don't have the money is just being silly.
You do not have that amount anymore, but I'm not arguing with you.
You just look at the financial reports, which.
I have,
Yeah, and you'll see
and I've
that
looked
we
at the
have,
last audit.
and you'll see that we have a lot of money.
No. No, because of the
Yes.
activity of this board. But
Yes.
there's no sense to sit here and argue.
I think we need to be careful right now, cause we're gonna get into the wellhead repair here, and just cause it said 26,000 doesn't mean it could be. They could get halfway into that thing and find a whole can of worms. You know, and some of the other things we've already spent money
Two
on.
different accounts.
I totally understand, but what I'm saying is if you took it as a collective whole, right, the assets or the value of the township, I don't think it's worth spending that $32,000 right now if we can hold off a year and budget for it.
We're gonna be holding off 6 months because they can't even start it until December.
Right.
Well, no need
So
to pass
most
it
of
now
them-
and
if
commit
not
to
all of
something
them.
that you
Put it
don't
in the
have
budget
money
for
for.
next year. Budgeted.
All right.
If we,
I've read the audit,
if we.
I understand the audit.
But anyway, I've made a motion to buy it. Did anybody second it?
I have not heard a second.
Hmm?
I have not heard a second.
Okay,
I've not heard support.
okay, guys.
Good discussion. It does need, it does need, looking into some more, absolutely. And we'll look into the, Sage and find out what's going on with the support.
Okay, moving right along here.
And who will do that? Not me. I'm not.
What do you want looked into, Bruno?
I'm
I
not
got
gonna
the
stay-
original, I got the estimates and things from
Yeah, from the Sage.
BSNA for the treasurer.
Just, the Sage support and to find out what they're.
Why they're not
The
contacting
problem-
us
Yeah,
back.
well,
If
you
you
see,
would.
if you will do that, I think that it would be appropriate for the supervisor to do that. If you were willing to call there and find out what's wrong.
I'll call, if I get an answer, I will,
You'll try.
I'll spend about 10 minutes on the
Well,
phone.
maybe with a message
It-
that supervisor on
Oh,
it, it
go
might
50.
carry a little more weight.
Well, there, and also, they need to know, they need to know that they are not meeting, we paid them $1,700. They are not responsive. So we get that money back,
Well,
Or they answer the
or
phone.
you provide the support we paid for. Well, period. And it's like, really? There are other people that can provide support for that software,
You go above their heads to
but
contact.
first we need to get the money we already spent.
Yeah.
Sounds like you need an attorney.
The township has an attorney, and well, we spend a lot of money there too.
Well, I understand that, but that sounds like you're getting ripped off.
Well, absolutely. At first, I would like to have the supervisor confront them and either provide support or refund us.
That
And I
makes
think it
sense.
would be good if any city's willing to do that. So can we move forward?
yep, number 6,
Thank you.
resolution.
Here's another one where anybody that wants to can make the motion. Or it can die.
This is another one that I think is just hot stirring stuff that we need to move away from. I completely agree that we should be the example. The use of profanity from a board member during a meeting should not happen. That being said,
That was
it's
not
done,
profanity.
it's over, move on, bigger stuff to work on.
It was not profanity.
What was it?
The word was, I said bullshit, because people
That
were not
is
telling the truth.
profanity.
No, it isn't.
Well, we're not gonna argue about it. Let it die. Let's move on and be productive.
All right.
And if it happens again, then we can bring it back up at a later date.
Oh, no, I want you to move to do that, and then I'll read you something.
It says bullshit and Associated County right here.